Welcome to Friday 15 with Master B2B. My name is Brian Beck. I'm here with Andy Hoare for our weekly podcast here, streamed live on LinkedIn Live. Hopefully, y'all can hear me. Andy, joining us from the ether in Cincinnati. Is that where you are? You're in Cincinnati?
I'm in Cincinnati. I'm looking out of a hotel room right now, and it looks really nice.
Yeah, apparently, I hear they don't have lights in Cincinnati. You've got your fake background going on there, and
well,
right?
I'm MacGyvering this one, so I can't really move. So if I look really stiff, it's not intentional.
You can't move. Okay, stay still. Maybe, but you can talk. Apparently, okay. Well, that's
I
good.
can talk.
No, all right. Well, welcome everyone to Friday 15. We've got a great episode today. We're going to get into our topic in just a minute, but first, some breaking news. Andy, I don't know if you saw this, but Shopify CEO says staffers need to prove jobs cannot be done by AI before asking for more headcount. Toby Lukey said employees will be expected to prove why they cannot get what they want done using AI before asking for more headcount. He said, I've seen many more of these people approach implausible tasks with the brilliant usage of AI to get 100 times the work done. The company will factor AI usage into performance reviews. Wow. So they're forcing the use of AI. So many companies are scared of AI. This is interesting, Andy. Any reactions?
Yeah, so I talked to some people on the inside there, and this is real. They're holding up hiring, and you have to now prove that AI can't do the job. It used to be, oh, well, let's see if AI can help out, or we're still going to hire a human and augment them with AI. These guys said the quiet part out loud, I think. I think a lot of tech companies, I mean, we talked about this before. Google, this is about a year ago. It's probably much higher now, but a third of all their code was being written by AI. It's probably closer to 40, 50% now. So tech companies are sort of on the bleeding edge here with this. This is real. And I think this is going to spread across a lot of companies. And we talked about this actually in Cincinnati last night at my executive dinner. And I think there were like ashen faces, like, wait, is this real? Is this really going to happen? Right. So again, tech companies first, but it's coming to a theater near you soon here.
Yes. Yeah, no question. I mean, just think about it. We use AI all the time in the course of producing episodes and other things. So
we're not even really here. These are just AI avatars.
That's right. Frighteningly, we might be getting there. So Andy, you just mentioned it. You were in Cleveland and Cincinnati this week in both markets doing some awesome roundtable discussions. Tell us a little bit about them. How was it?
Well, we had this great plan to talk about the usual really compelling stuff, and we did, about ROI models and customer experience standards and best practices, etc. But each of the meetings, I was in Cleveland on Wednesday and I was in Cincinnati on Thursday. Each one of them was a bit upended by tariff talk.
Right.
And not political tariff talk, but how are companies reacting to this? And what was fascinating to me was I asked them, and we'll talk about this next week. I know Jared has scheduled something for our Nexus members to talk next week in the forum, but we talked about what's actually happening in their companies and what they're doing. Right. So I had this metaphor of a red light, a yellow light, or a green light. And I said red light means you're stopping all future plans. Everything is on hold. Yellow light is, well, we're doing some stuff the same. Some stuff we're reconsidering or reevaluating. And green light is, oh, we don't care. We're just running our business no matter what. What was surprising was no reds.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, no reds. It was yellow and green. And mostly yellow, and actually a surprising number of greens. But keep in mind that B2B companies, these are long-term projects. One of the greens argued that, hey, they're a door manufacturer. Like, we put doors in buildings. These buildings take years to build. Tariffs in a couple of months isn't going to change where we're putting doors in buildings.
Right.
So we sometimes forget that, like spec-in work, for example, those are long plans. But yeah, most people were sort of cautiously waiting. One really interesting note, somebody had mentioned that, how do you communicate this to customers? And I'll talk about this more next week, but the best idea somebody had was they're using the word surcharge, like during the pandemic. Instead of saying we're raising our prices, they're saying we're adding a surcharge, which implies it's temporary, and that doesn't scare customers as much.
Right. That's really interesting. Well, looked like we had some amazing companies there and groups. I know Sloan and Standard Textile and a bunch of others were in these at the event. So, seems like it was an awesome discussion, and we got a bunch more of these coming this spring, and then of course again in the fall. So, folks, stay tuned on our website to look for upcoming events there. So, our topic today, Andy, can you build a successful e-commerce career at a traditional family-owned B2B company? The fact of the matter is 90% of businesses in the United States are family owned or controlled, according to the Census Bureau, right? So the vast majority of businesses in this country are owned by families. But the sad state of affairs, only 39% of US family owned businesses consider themselves to have strong digital capabilities. That's from a survey by PwC. So we have a lot of businesses that are family owned, and we only have a small percentage of them, or a minority, which are consider themselves digitally advanced. This is a funny cartoon I pulled. For those of you who can see this visually, it's a human resources department, an employee sitting with a human resources director, and the human resources director says, "We're a family-owned company, which means there's a lot of disappointment, finger pointing, and wishing for a different family." so that's kind of the sentiment, right? I mean, when you're working for a family-owned business, obviously that's a joke, but there's a different dynamic, right, that occurs versus dynamics related to if you're working at a public company or even a highly diversified or PE owned business. So we wanted to dive into this today, and of course, you and I, Andy, I guess we're kind of a family owned business, but we wanted to get a perspective from a traditional family owned business. And of course, when we think about family owned businesses, I can't help but to think about nothing else but lawnmowers, right? Because, when I think family owned, I think big zero turn lawnmowers from a company called Grasshopper. And we are pleased to introduce to you Trent Guyer, the VP of Marketing and Digital Strategy at Grasshopper Lawnmowers. Trent, welcome to our program.
Thank you. And I'm honored to be the next challenger to keep this to under 15 minutes and not be the Friday 25. So let's
thank you, Trent.
At it.
Thank you very much. It was good to see you. And
Brian, apparently Trent got the memo that we're all wearing white shirts today. Did you notice?
Right? I saw that. Yes, that's right. You fit the uniform well. So thank you, Trent.
You know what you said about that cartoon made me laugh because we save on a lot of Christmas gifts because we don't want to see each other at Christmas. We see each other all year round. I don't need to be around a lot of my family at the holidays, but I'm third generation in our company, so I've been yelled at by both the first and the second generation now.
Perfect. So you're not only the VP of Marketing and Digital, you're also part of the family, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome.
That's right. So yeah, third generation right now. The second generation is my father, his brother, and their sister.
Got it.
So yeah, we've all worked together a long time. You build this amount of trust with each other that, as you'd expect what family is, but at the same time, it's who are you to know about this topic? So let's go outside and learn a little bit more, or let's not adopt this because what do you know? So there's
tell us
both sides.
Tell us this is great. We're so thrilled you joined us because this topic is so, I know, knowing you now for 5 or 6 years, Trent, this is a topic that's very close to your heart, right? And you've worked hard at that business. So, but tell us a little more about Grasshopper. What is the business? What do you guys do?
What is it? Yeah, right. So my grandfather started back custom harvesting from Texas up to the Dakotas. They'd cut wheat, corn, whatever, and they'd move as the weather got warmer. And he found that you couldn't store the grain at the market wet, otherwise it would spoil. You wouldn't get the right price for it. So he developed a portable recirculating batch grain dryer. So it could do small batches and it could be portable. And so he started building that. He needed a place that he was on the farm and he would weld and it would surge the power lines in the neighborhood, or they'd use the party line telephone to make business calls. And that upset, Janice or whatever down the way, neighbor Karen. So they moved to where we are now in Moundridge, Kansas, because there was a railway that came through there. So there was that freight of it. I mean, logistics has always been important for us, right? So the train came through here, and then a year after that, there was a prospect of the interstate coming through here. And so the interstate highway is right through here. We can truck out of here real easy. We're right in the center of the United States. Yeah. So from a logistics standpoint, that's important to us.
And you do you still make those grain dryers, or do you get into in other businesses now?
Right. So our focus is that turf equipment, those Grasshopper mowers, like that picture you showed. The back about 1980 until about 1989, from 1969 till about 89, we made both side by side. But the farm market got really weak, and the mowers are really starting to surge. So we abandoned the grain dryer and focused on mowers ever since.
Yeah. So interesting. And your mowers today, they cut the grass at the White House and other places, right? All
They
used
do.
all
That's right. That's right. So we appeal to government institutions, schools, cities, anybody who's got grass to mow, but large acreage homeowners, and of course commercial operators. So you'd see us maybe anywhere that there is green grass to cut. That's
Wait,
right.
so does your mower have to go through an FBI background check then to be used on the White House lawn?
That's a great question. I did when I went there to visit. We got to be a part of a manufacturing in America, and they searched us all over the place. That's right.
Oh wow!
Sure did. Sure did.
So Trent, as a business, as a family-owned business that's obviously successful, you guys are not only national but global in scale in terms of where your product is used nowadays. Dealers, thousands of dealers, I think, all over the country, right? And so in the world, what a company like yours would be approached by PE firms, by investment bankers, by why does it why stay family owned? Out of curiosity.
I suppose you could sell, but then that's it, right? I mean, there's no more money to be made, I suppose.
Sure.
But in manufacturing, you can continue. Manufacturing, there's always something to make. I think we're. If you saw our factory, we're very flexible. We make our product, but we also can cut steel. We laser cut steel, we machine it, we fabricate so we can bend it, we powder paint, and then we weld and we do final assembly. So we can do all of that. So I think really if it got down to a real barren situation, we had to make something else for somebody, we could be a job shop or something where we can put our know-how to work, and we're always able to build something and make money, I suppose.
So flexibility. Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys have had a successful, grew the business for a long time, 50, 60 years, using a dealer network, right? Traditional dealers who take stock on the product, sell your product, do parts, accessories, etc. And then you come along and you say, young whippersnapper, and you say, well, we've got to do this e-commerce stuff, right? And so that must have been a bit of a challenge. So what are some of those challenges? Like you started talking about this probably 7, 8, 9 years ago, I'd imagine.
Yeah. So channel conflict, you grew up with these dealers, and whether it's the exact same dealer as it was years ago, but you grew up with that mentality of a dealer, those people who really have become a bit of a friend or a family for you out all across the country and all over the world. So then you come along in their eyes and you say, we're going to sell online. And so their natural feeling is you're going to sell around me or behind my back or not include me. And really the sales pitch on that has been actually not at all. We're protecting the brand, because if we did not go on Amazon, then there would be we've got some wear parts on our machine, belts, blades, filters, and fluid, daily maintenance things. And if we didn't have those, if we did not list on Amazon, somebody else would, and it would probably be a ne'er-do-well or a lesser grade product out there. So we're out there really protecting all of our dealers by being on there. Plus we have our prices set a little bit higher than what a dealer would sell. Plus, even though Amazon I know has Prime and fast shipping and all that, you still get it faster to dealer same day.
Okay, got it. That all sounds great. How did you ever convince your family to invest in this stuff? Because, in our experience, from what Andy and I have seen, the traditional, family members or the folks who maybe are of an older generation don't necessarily understand this e-commerce stuff. And I'd imagine some of the reaction was, hey, you're just going to undercut the dealer. I mean, this is crazy. We're just taking volume from the dealer. You're just shifting into a different channel. Aren't you, Trent?
Well, but
No.
Brian, I want to add something to that.
Go ahead.
Because not only is all that true, but you can't fire one another, right? So if you have a disagreement with your dad about digital, if you work for another company and it's an irreparable, rift, you can leave the company. What do you do with what Brian just said? These really deep, complicated channel questions in the spirit of an environment where you can't leave.
Yeah. So I guess one thing I said was, when have I ever done anything that was a detriment to the company? I have the same feelings like you do, so I would never make a decision like that. Also, you show the numbers. and you can show like, look at this spike in what we're doing. And we are pretty certain those are sales we would not get because,
Mm-hmm.
Brian, I've shown you this study that I did a number of years ago that 2/3 of all sales came after the standard operating hours of a dealership.
Mm-hmm.
And our dealers are not open generally, not open on Sundays. And if they're open on Saturday, it's until about noon. So we're not like a Lowe's or a Home Depot or a whatever where, you can go just about 24/7. And then also we found that the average drive distance round trip was 70 miles. So our product is built durable in nature. That's our first thing. And they're all hand built. So we look at quality first as a main thing. And so it is very normal that you'll have a customer sell that unit to somebody else, to somebody else, to somebody else. And so you could be on the third or fourth or fifth owner. So spare parts business is a really important deal. And so that newest owner may not be familiar with who their local dealer is. And so they take to Amazon or online to go get their spare parts.
Okay, so it's best supporting. So so you obviously convinced your leadership because you're part of the leadership, but you're not the CEO yet, or maybe someday will be, whatever. But today you're the whippersnapper, and you're trying to convince them to go the team to go on Amazon. You have that pushback. Was there any particular argument you made that really resonated? Was it you said numbers? What else?
Brand protection was the biggest one. When I showed that second generation that there were some Chinese-made transmissions for sale on Amazon that we did not make, then that really was like, okay, we got to get our stuff on there. And that was even after we had decided to have our wear parts, the top 100 selling items, and we were going to leave, say, transmissions off of there. And then when we saw that there was inferior product on there, that's when we said, we've got to put it out there, because if we don't, they will. And, the average person who needs a replacement part doesn't appreciate that. And I've been there. I've done that before on some other products, that I've bought before. Right. And then a year later, you end up buying another one, the OEM version of it, and spending 200% more than you should have in the first place.
So you started with Amazon. And then you introduced your direct e-commerce supporting mainly dealers, right? Later, what that process you went through, any lessons learned there, or anything that you would do differently
on the website portion of it?
Either one.
We just go slow and expect that this transformation, I suppose, that you're going to go through with, say, your dealers, be patient with them, because they're also family. They are family-owned businesses in their own right. So they're going to think a lot like we are, and they're going to think that you're circumventing them.
Right.
And so you just have to be patient with them. I think there's that good line that your biggest critics end up being your biggest fans too. The people who get more upset about it are probably your biggest fans and really want the best anyway, and want to be either included in that conversation or just tell me, what are you thinking here?
All right. So Andy said you can't be fired from the family, right? This is true. So let's say you're not part of the family. Let's say it's, some other young whippersnapper who's just got hired by a family-owned business. Any advice you would give that person as they come into a family-owned environment to try to make change and drive, do what you did? How would you go? What would you tell them to do?
Patience. Again, Be patient. That digital transformation, which I think you told me at some point, don't expect it to take months or years. It could take a decade. It could take a little bit. Now, if you are just using our company as a stepping stone and don't plan to be here very long, then I guess that's all going to flush itself out anyway, because you're not going to work out here. But if you are patient and you prove yourself out and you gain our trust, we'll probably live and die with you to the end. If we know that you're loyal and you care about us like we care about our company, then we'll probably ride with you the whole way.
So Trent, not to compare to the mafia, but just out of curiosity.
I didn't say we'd bury you.
But in the mafia, you have to be a made man, right? You can't be a made man unless you're part of the family. Is there a dimension of that here that you have to grapple with, where people say, well, this is great, I can make suggestions, but, well, I'm not really in the family, so I'll never be able to have the influence I need?
That might be the case in some places. We have such a big open door policy, and we're so hands-on, maybe to a fault sometimes, in that, like, we get so deep involved in every little project sometimes that maybe we get stressed about stuff. But the good thing is everybody here knows that they can come talk to anybody, and that we're going to be well versed on a topic, and that we'll be able to we'll bounce it off of you and talk through a scenario with you. And if you're willing to be patient and talk through it and not think and don't take it personal that it's that we're talking about a subject that I'm talking to you or with you, not at you, then I think we'll jive just fine.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, we asked our community this question: is it possible to build a successful e-commerce career at a traditional family-owned B2B company? And, it's interesting, Trent, the vast majority, 88% said yes. 13% said no. Why do you think 13% said no?
I think because they think some of them are slow movers. They might see the technology or lack of that they have in the office. What that really sometimes at least says, maybe in our office, that's stability. We've got an older internal computer system. And when you tell some people what it is, they might chuckle at it. And I say, well, we've been around a lot longer than any of you guys, your vendors or your these suppliers have been.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's you need to embrace that when you talk to us, because that for us is stability. And if it ain't broke, you don't fix it.
Right.
Certain things. I mean, you go out in our factory and we invest in the latest laser cutters, the powder paint system. If that shaves seconds off of something in a machine shop, we'll install a new machine or something.
Yeah.
But when it comes to office tech, we go, well, it's good. We're good with it, and we've learned it, so we're all set. We don't need to make any changes.
Awesome. Well, Trent, this has been really awesome in terms of getting your perspective on this. Firsthand, you've lived it. So we thank you very much for being a part of our Friday 15. Look for this post as a part of our podcast series, and this will live on LinkedIn. But Trent, thanks very much. We appreciate your time.
Always an honor to talk to you guys. You guys are like the experts in the field, and I just love just hearing what you always have to say.
Well,
so
we always love talking to you. Yeah, thanks for your participation in our community. Awesome. All right. See you, Trent. So, Andy, we got a couple things here. We ran long, but that's okay. Trent's awesome and really.
We have an excuse for it. It wasn't us this time.
We do. We have an excuse. Jared, don't yell at us. We have an excuse. So, folks, Nexus, which is your personal digital lifeline, we launched it this month. In fact, Trent is a member. This is it provides expert advice, and it's just about B2B e-commerce. Handling your complex decisions. It's a bespoke service. You get a concierge that helps you to answer your questions. We do exclusive events. In fact, we're holding one on tariffs next week. So, we're going to be growing this program. So come to our website, Master B2B. You can look and click on Nexus to learn more. We have our forum, of course, which is free for practitioners. Go to our website and you can sign up for that. We have hundreds and hundreds of people in there, conversations happening every single day. People sharing jobs and questions and, technology, all kinds of things. So encourage you, if you're a practitioner at a manufacturer distributor, to sign up there. We have 2 or 3 more roundtables this spring, Minneapolis, New York City, and Los Angeles coming up in the next month. Encourage you to go to our website and check those out. Those are free for practitioners, 20 to 25 people at each of these. Great late afternoon discussions followed by cocktails and dinner. And again, that's on our website. And finally, want to remind everyone that this Friday 15 is available via podcast on your favorite podcast service, whether that's Spotify, Apple, Google, our website, YouTube, whatever. You can find it all over the galaxy. And please review us. Please give us a review. It helps. Thank you. We appreciate it. Give us only if it's nice, of course. So, Andy, any final words before we wrap for the day?
Yeah, I kept my fingers crossed that the Wi-Fi would work here in the hotel, and it did.
Not sure how you pulled that off in Cincinnati, but next week you'll be back in wherever you are, Chicago somewhere. Evanston. All right. Excellent. Well, Andy, thanks for joining us from outer space, and we will talk to everyone next week. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend.